So welcome to Northern Powerhouses, our business success stories series of interviews where we discuss with local business leaders their backgrounds, their successes and challenges, and what really drives them forward. And today I'm really delighted to have with us Rudy Heywood, who's the founder and managing director at Famous Wolf social media agency. So firstly, Rudy, great to see you again, and thanks for coming on board. And if you'd like to introduce yourself and Famous Wolf and tell people how you help them, that would be great.
Yeah, no worries. So yeah, I'm Rudy Heywood. I'm the owner and founder of Famous Wolf social media ad agency. I also am the founder of Famous Wolf social media e-learning platform, which I'll tell you a little bit about in a minute.
Great.
So yeah, Famous Wolf social media ad agency, I started in February 2019. We've gone from strength to strength from there. We currently work with medium to large size businesses, helping them build brand, generate sales and leads via social media. And that varies regardless of whether it's a B2B industry that you work in or whether it's a B2C. And that's it, you know, again, it doesn't matter whether you sell product or you sell service, we cater to all. And then the Famous Wolf social media e-learning platform is something that we built during the COVID period. And well, I decided to kind of go into, which I'll tell you a bit more about later on, but the e-learning company services small businesses, micro businesses, small in-house marketing teams and entrepreneurs, and that effectively teaches them how to build brand and how to generate sales and leads using social media, but in a way where they can learn anytime on any device, you know, anywhere, as long as they've got internet connection, they can learn. And it's an online portal where effectively you can log in and learn on the go, with, you know, video content in there, which basically teaches you step by step how to implement your social media marketing, from building brand all the way through to generating those sales, and to help grow your business and to use it effectively. So yeah, and I guess the reason why we built the learning platform is effectively during the COVID period. I noticed that there was quite a gap in the market where a lot of the small businesses were really struggling because traditional forms of marketing was no longer effective or available, and a lot of the small businesses and micro businesses just didn't have the financial ability to hire a digital marketing agency or a social agency that knew what they were doing. So I thought, why not build a training platform which is specifically for those types of individuals that can pay a really small fee to get access to invaluable knowledge, which is going to teach them how to survive and thrive during that time. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Well done. I mean, there's so much you've achieved, especially over these last couple of years, these difficult times. And I believe you've recently won an award. If you'd like to tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you. So I have well, as a finalist for the Great British Entrepreneur Awards. So but getting down to become a finalist for that was quite an achievement in itself. Partly because there's so many, you know, the whole of Great Britain are applying to try and get into win and to be a finalist out of a really small number of people in that group. In the end, it was great. Like, it was really good, and I managed to meet Stephen Bartlett as well, who is now a dragon, but even before that he was, you know, really well known in his own right. So yeah, it was a really good experience, and it was nice to be noticed. We've won a few smaller awards since then. Won a managing director award with SME entrepreneurs. So that was cool as well. That was quite an achievement. So yeah, it's been good. It's been good, really good.
Well done. Well done. Well, if we start looking right from where we started, right from the start, could you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into business and why this particular business?
Yeah, so I guess it all stems from, I would say, 11 years ago. I originally had nothing to do with marketing and advertising. 11 years ago, I was actually a professional actor, and I worked full time as an actor. And I then kind of realized that because work was so up and down, and one minute you were in work and the next you weren't, as an actor, I realized I needed something to fall back on, and I needed either a skill or a way for me to be able to earn an income. So I actually landed a graduate job working for a branch of the Daily Telegraph, in advertising. I was an advertising exec. And I basically worked my way up from there, from being an ad exec through to kind of like a team leader, supervisor role. And then the accounts that I was working on, it was new business as well as account management. One of the accounts I was working on was a 27 grand deal, which I managed to secure. But it was the marketing and advertising campaign that I put together that made that specific client, turn around to my employer at the time and say, we want to take Rudy. You know, and it was a bit weird, because it was I felt like a little bit like a Premiership footballer, because they were kind of negotiating on paying for me to move to them, because the employer at the time didn't want to let go. So that was quite interesting. And then that was my first, working for that client was my first actual proper marketing PR role. And the head of marketing there at the time, she took me under her wing and taught me everything she knew. And then kind of my career just went from there, really. And I've been in advertising and marketing for the last 11 years. I've worked in agency, but I've also worked in-house for some quite large corporate businesses. We also worked for one of the biggest media agencies in the world, Gannett, which are based in the States. And they own like USA Today, and they own NewsQuest and Local IQ here in the UK. After kind of working for that company for 4 years, I'd kind of reached a penultimate position where there was not very many people above me, and there was no real way to kind of progress. So I decided that I was going to start my own agency.
Well done.
And it was actually an action coach that mentioned to me that they thought I should start my own business at the time.
Oh, fantastic. That's great to hear. We're always here to help. And when you're growing up, was this what you always wanted to do? Was that acting, or was that something else?
You know what, like I didn't really know what I wanted to be when I was younger. I think obviously when you're really small, you have these ideas of what you would like to be, but you don't really know what the future holds. And I guess obviously the career path that I was on was to be an actor, but I guess the industry that I've kind of gone into kind of happened by accident, out of the need to be able to financially support myself. But realizing that the industry that I'd gone into, I was actually very good at. So I was quite lucky in that respect, because a lot of people will go into things to financially support themselves, but not necessarily enjoy it or be good at it. But I've been very lucky in that respect. And I guess, you know, that's since, well, I've been in the game now for 11 years, and like I'm still here and you know, running effectively 2 businesses now that are in this sector and enjoying every minute of it. So you know, I don't think it's going to end anytime soon, unless I decide to sell the businesses and retire early. But yeah, not yet.
Brilliant. That's really great to hear. And over your career, over this journey that you've had, what would you say some of the biggest issues you've had to overcome?
I would say the biggest issues in the industry, I would say more so in the UK than in the US, because we've had clients that are US based, and in different parts of the world. And I would say in the UK, I would say that it's getting better, but businesses are a little bit further behind, in terms of further behind the curve and further behind the trend in terms of adapting to the marketplace and adapting to forms of marketing, especially digital marketing, to then be able to grow substantially. A lot of other countries, especially like the States, are ahead of the curve, and so when it comes to kind of discussing digital marketing with businesses in the UK, you're very much having to educate them from the very beginning to then be able to get them to an understanding where they can then start to implement that in their business, which takes a lot. I guess it's a longer tail in terms of how to get them to where they need to be. Because there's an element of education and knowledge that needs to be delivered first before they can you can move the business forward. I would say with a lot of other businesses in different countries, they're already at that stage. So they're already kind of like, yeah, we know how this works. We know why we need to do X, Y, and Z. Therefore, we're coming to you because we know we need you to implement it. So it's a lot more straightforward, and you can get on and achieve what you need to achieve. But I'd say that the UK is getting better in terms of their advancements. I would say definitely with the medium to large size businesses that we work with from an agency point of view, they're a lot more advanced, but a lot of those are some of those are global businesses, so they will be more on top of things, where it's kind of this, I'd say the smaller businesses where they're still trying to play catch up, but it's still, as long as small businesses are open and they've got their ears and they're ready to open and they're ready to go, then there's no reason why they can't succeed and achieve what everybody else is. It's just having that understanding of needing to take that leap and needing to adapt, and what they've always done isn't always going to continue to work. You have to adapt with the times. Absolutely.
And as I think you touched on earlier, when going into the lockdown, and there must have been so many businesses that their existing forms of marketing just weren't going to work anymore. And so as you say, if we don't learn and change with the times, then history. I think there's a phrase: if you always do what you always got, you always do what you always did, you always get what you always got. But I remember a friend of mine many years ago said, actually, it's if you always did what you always did, your history, because the world is changing, and certainly we've seen such radical changes over the last couple of years that, and especially in the ways to market and deliver our services, it must have been so many businesses must have had to have changed.
Definitely. I mean, we saw that during the COVID period, what would have nearly taken 5 years in technology advancement, when people taking things on board, literally took 5 months. So and those businesses that were adapting absolutely flew during that time and made a lot of money during that time because of it. But those that didn't, a lot of those that we thought were brands, huge brands that were you'd never think would have gone anywhere, would have been around for centuries, are no longer here, and it's simply because they just weren't ready and weren't able to pivot and adapt quick enough.
No, completely agree. So over this entire period, what would you say some of the biggest learnings you've had in business and even in life?
Biggest learning that I would say most recently, the biggest learning for me is patience. It's such a massive one. I'm probably one of my biggest downfalls have been trying to run before I can walk. And if I want something, I have to try and get it straight away. And it's not it's usually just out of excitement, pure excitement, that the excitement of achieving that or getting whatever I want, which drives me to maybe not have that patience. But for me, I've noticed that one of the biggest downfalls you can have is if you don't have patience and you try to rush things, that's when mistakes happen. And yeah, things then become out of control. So I'd say the biggest learning for me at the moment is learning to have patience and learning to have resilience and being consistent for longer periods of time. So yeah,
brilliant, and really interesting learning, because like many entrepreneurial people like yourself, as you say, it's almost that impatience to get things done is part of a hallmark of many people. But yeah, no, that makes total sense. And as you know, we're a coaching organisation. I'm interested to know who the best coach you've ever had, whether that's business, sport, life, anything. Who would you say the best coaches that you've worked with before?
Well, I would say, not to make you blush or anything, but you are one of the coaches that that we've worked with, that have been very good and has definitely helped us on our journey, especially in the early days, Chris, when we were first kind of working with you. Definitely helped the business get off to a really strong start, and I would say also coaches that aren't, I would say, in terms of the coaching and the training, individuals that have not necessarily been there physically, but in terms of learnings and teachings that I've gathered, that have helped me then implement those into my business. I would say Gary Vaynerchuk, most definitely, somebody that I follow intently and listen to the audiobooks. I would also say Stephen Bartlett as well, very much so, reading his book at the moment, Diary of a CEO. I would also say there's a social media trainer that's based in the States, called Billy Jean's Marketing, and in the early days as well, there was a lot of teachings that I managed to learn from him in terms of being able to implement certain strategies into the business to help the business grow and to scale, especially from I would say from an e-learning point of view, when we were looking at building the e-learning platform. I would say those individuals were key to my coaching and training, and my learning in terms of being a business owner. I think it's really important to not stop learning either, and to continue to develop your knowledge as much as possible, because like I said before, things are always changing. So it's really important to have a coach that's going to keep you on track. That's certainly something that I gained from you, Chris, when I first started building the business, is just having that accountability and also being able to bounce ideas off you and have that clarity, because when you're in it, you're in the midst of the business and you're working on the business so much, you don't always have that time to step out and reevaluate. And I think when I was having those sessions with yourself, it was allowing me to kind of step out of the business a second and have that time to actually reevaluate, and also just to bounce things off you in terms of what was going on in my mind at the time, in terms of kind of worries or thoughts about where the directions I should go in. It all really helps. because like being an entrepreneur can be, and being a business owner can be a really lonely place.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, being around other business owners, which is another thing as well, that are in the same position as you, and coaching and being coached with them allows you to kind of look at what others are doing, and also then reevaluating and thinking to yourself, am I doing that, or is there something that I could do better, or they're doing something that I could be doing better in my business. So yeah, you know, sorry, I've just completely digressed, but yeah.
No, thank you. No, it's great, and I thank you for the reference. I really appreciate it. It's great that you reference the people that have helped you, and say, I know Gary Vaynerchuk is a big provider of knowledge for you. And I remember talking, I think when we were working together, the Billie Jean marketing company from the States was a big influence. And for me, it's that leverage of knowledge. It's we can create knowledge by experiences, but that takes a long time. But if we can leverage off other people's experiences, we can accelerate our progression quite significantly, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So have you, on that, whoever it might be, have you picked up any favorite quotes or sayings that you use on a regular basis?
Favorite quotes or sayings? Oh,
don't worry if you haven't.
No, I don't think I have. I mean, there's been sayings and quotes that I've heard, and that I've loved over the years, but none that I kind of have picked up that I kind of use and live by, I guess. Yeah, no, not really.
It's interesting, quite a few people do, but also quite a few people don't. And I think it's, as you say, I think sometimes the most relevant thing is that right now, it's what you need to hear right now, and therefore once you've used it, it may go, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
Talk about learning. What have you say you learned about yourself over this period, over your journey?
I've learned to trust my gut instinct more.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've learned that I've learned a few things about how I need to kind of look after myself as well, in terms of my own health, and whether that's mentally or physically, because at the end of the day, if I'm not firing on all cylinders, then the business doesn't. And yeah, that's kind of, I would say that's kind of one of the biggest things that I've learned about me, that I need to start putting my personal health and well-being first, so that the business, because I think one of the things I've done in the past is I've kind of put everything into the business, my whole entire life and being and soul and everything else has just fallen by the wayside. I remember a point that happened, and I thought, I actually got rushed into hospital because I had they thought I was having a heart attack, and actually what I was having was something called AF. I don't know the actual name for it, but when I went into hospital, I got rushed into hospital by blue light, and they took me into resus. Because they thought I was going, and I managed to re-regulate my heartbeat. But that was seriously scary time. I was on the phone to because my family couldn't be there. I was on the phone to my mum, and all my family had rushed over to my mum and dad's house. Goodness. And yeah, it was quite scary. And the doctor and the nurse said, keep talking to them and get them to keep talking to you, because they could see that my heartbeat was starting to try and re-regulate. But they said they had no idea why somebody at my age was getting something called AF, because they said it usually happens with people that are a hell of a lot older. But yeah, it was incredibly scary, but it was a case that I was just burning the candle at both ends, because
Yeah,
I was pushing myself to the limit where to push the business through, and I
yeah,
was my diet wasn't great. I wasn't eating. I was just constantly working from 5 a.m. in the morning till midnight. And you hear people on Instagram kind of a lot boasting about, oh yeah, I do that, I'm working from 5 and I'm working, and that's not, and people say it as if it's like a flex, if it's a good thing, and it's
yeah, yeah.
really not a good thing, like, because
Okay.
you will burn out. And
Yeah,
no matter how super fit you are, or you will burn out at some point.
yeah,
And it's a dangerous game, because we're all in business because one, because we enjoy it, two, because we we all have a goal, whether that goal is financial freedom,
yeah,
or the freedom to kind of have more time and do other things with your time. And I
yeah,
think it's, you've got to think to yourself, that's great to have those goals, but if you aren't around to enjoy it because you've killed yourself trying to do that, then what's the point? So
absolutely.
yeah, so it's for me, it's that's kind of really put things into perspective for me,
Yeah,
that my health needs to come first. And things have drastically changed since that incident. I do make sure I have regular breaks. I eat on time, I eat regularly, I don't work stupid hours anymore. I
yeah,
think if you can't get it done in that set period of time, then it's, you need to relook at
yeah,
what you're committing your time to. You need to look at your schedule, and you need to be planning in regular breaks and times for you to have you time to just
yeah.
recharge. So yeah.
Makes perfect sense, and I couldn't agree more. We've got to look after ourselves first, and 100%. So looking forward, Rudy, what does the future look like, and what do you see as the main challenges moving forward, if any?
Yeah, I think the for me now, it's about scaling. I've since COVID, I've moved the business from Leeds branch through to Birmingham, because I'm now based in Birmingham. We still have freelancers, and we still have bits of team that are working from home that are in Leeds. But I'm now looking at growing the branch in Birmingham, and
Yep.
trying to move things forward. I think the challenge for us now is to start scaling in a way that I can then start offloading some of the workload from myself and delegating to others, and bringing on more team. I'm wanting to kind of push into new areas of market as well. We historically work with a lot of the property market. We work with the automotive industry a lot, and we're working a lot at the moment with the e-commerce sectors, so the retail sector, retail e-commerce sector. So we've taken on quite a number of clients in there, and we're now we've started to actually carve into an industry where we're helping a lot of individuals that are wanting to build on personal brand. So we've recently just taken on quite high profile a YouTuber, and also a singer-songwriter as well. So yeah, really exciting projects that we're working on at the moment. So that I want to be doing more of that as much as possible, and just continue to kind of use my skill set to help others as much as we possibly can. I want to continue to grow the e-learning business, and try and help more small businesses and micro businesses. And I'm at the moment, I've been contacted a few times now to do quite a few speaking events and presenting as well, which is one of the things I love doing, just so that I can share knowledge, really. So yeah, we're actually just on that. We're actually working with a college at the moment called Sandwell College, where I'm potentially going to be doing a talk to their digital marketing students, and on the power of brand. And yeah, we're looking at seeing how we can bring in some students as well into the agency, where they can do their works experience with us as well. So we're looking forward to that. Be good.
Brilliant. That sounds very exciting. We must it'd be good to circle back in 12 months or so and see what the next level of development is. So just a few little sort of simple questions before we wrap up. What would you say to anyone that was thinking of going to business right now?
I would say anybody that's thinking about going into business, I would say 100% do it. If it's something that you've always wanted to do, that's where your love and your passion lies, then 100% absolutely go for it. But also just know that it's not nothing in life that is worth achieving is easy. So it will be hard, very hard, and there will be times where you will feel like you want to give up, but you need to then draw on why you've gone into this in the first place, and you need to draw on the love and the passion for why you're doing what you are doing. So you just need to keep thinking about your why, and the reason why you're doing what you're doing, and that will sustain you. But yeah, absolutely, I would say, the industry, the world as a whole has been through a lot lately in terms of the ups and downs. We are I think I heard recently that we're in a recession, which means we're halfway through it. So I wouldn't let that put you off. There's, whether you start it now or whether you start it in 6 months' time, there's always going to be peaks and troughs in business industry. So I would just go for it. Don't have any regrets, and because if you don't go for it, you will have a regret, and picking up the regret of the bill of regret is worse than any other bill that you'll ever receive. I can tell you that for sure.
Love it. Very sound advice. And if you started your business again, what if anything would you do differently?
I think if I was to start the business all over again, I think I would probably really niche down from the beginning. I would also look at bringing in, I would definitely bring in a coach sooner, that I've got that mentor to draw on, because when you first start out, it is quite lonely, and trying to navigate that space can be quite difficult if you're new to it. And I would also just say, I would also just make sure that I am in a position where I have a bit of a nest egg to be able to draw from financially. Just so that you don't always need to, I mean, I started Famous Wolf with basically nothing. But I would say it's always nice to have that, just so that you are not solely reliant on trying to get that business to make you revenue like tomorrow or the same day that you start it. You need to have that time to let your business embed. So I would say that, those are the things that I would probably do. Just make sure I have a little bit of money to be able to invest in the business, and time, have a coach, and just go for it. Brilliant.
That's again great advice. And finally, if you're able to give some advice to an 18-year-old you, what
Yeah.
advice would you give?
An 18-year-old me, the advice I would give to my 18-year-old self is have more patience, and listen more, and focus on your career sooner. That's what I would say. If I was having a conversation with my 18-year-old self, that's what I would be telling them. Focus on your career now, and yeah, because there's plenty of time to enjoy yourself.
Brilliant. Very sound advice. Really, thank you so much. It's been really delightful. It's great to see you again after a little bit of time. And thank you for those ideas and advice. It's really interesting. The journey that you're on is really fascinating. And in the industry that you're in, and clearly you've learned a lot about yourself and about the best ways to grow and enhance what you do. And as I say, it'd be great to catch up another 6-12 months and just see where you are. And in the meantime, thank you so much.
Cheers. Thanks so much, Chris.